Just having a quick look at some of the design components in this animatronic hand. So this is the hand portion, and you can see here we have locations for the various servo motors. So there's one that goes here, one that goes here, one here, one here, and one here. And these are all set up at different angles to have their horns in line with the various mounting points for the fingers. So for example, this one is perpendicular to this mounting point, so the servo motor here drives the second finger here. This one is perpendicular to this mounting point, so this servo motor drives the index finger. This one drives the ring finger, this one drives the little finger, and this one drives the thumb. Now the thumb actually has a different kind of pivot, but I only redesigned that later. So when this was designed, they were all going to use a similar kind of a pivot. So you can see that the pivot points for the fingers have two mounting points or two pivot points. One of these is to pivot the first section of the finger, so it's connected there and rotates around that point. The other one is a strut that goes to the fingertip section of the finger. It doesn't connect to the first section at all, and it is just pivoting around this point. On the thumb, I'll have to explain that when I show the thumb a little bit later. So this is just a hand. The original intention was to cover this whole thing up with a latex glove, but the latex gloves are so stretchy it puts a lot of stress on the fingers, and I'm not going to do it that way. Here we are looking at some finger parts. So the sections along the bottom are the first section of each finger. These sections contain both knuckles. So the tall one is the knuckle at the hand, and the short one is the knuckle at the fingertip portion of the finger. This hole is where the connecting arm connects to the servo motor to pull and rotate around the long pin. In the middle here we have a cap. This cap fits over this pin here to lock it in place on the hand, and there's one for each finger. And then there are two caps here. These are both out at the first knuckle. The little one is the one that goes over the knuckle joint, and the big one here fits on this pin, which is on the finger. This is the pin for the connecting rod, and the connecting rods are these S-shaped connecting rods, and they're S-shaped to avoid those interferences with running into pins and other arms. So the fingertip section of the finger, they're three different lengths, but the two big ones are the same, so there's only one shown here. But the ring finger has a different length of connecting strut and different length of first finger section, so that all fingers are different lengths, even though this portion of two of the fingers is the same length. And that's actually how my hand geometry works, so that's not because of convenience, that's just how the geometry of my hand works out. These two blocks are they fit into these slots in these connecting struts, just to sort of bulk up the finger and make it look like a full-bodied finger. I didn't put those in the prototypes because I want to do something a little bit more complicated to make the fingers look more like fingers, but they're designed to take additional pieces to make the fingers more full-bodied. One thing I didn't mention is that these straight struts here are the connecting shafts to the servo motors. The thumb is a little different. You can see it's larger, but it only has the one pivot point, and that is through this fancy bracket here, which fits into the mount that's on the hand. You can see it's quite a complicated shape, and there's a washer, over here, which goes on the top of this pin once it goes through this bushing, and it locks the thumb in place. There's a complicated cavity in the thumb to run a connecting arm that is actually a spring wire, so that it can be less obtrusive and just handle rotating of the thumb, instead of having to try and make a plastic one. I found that just a spring wire works very well there. And there's still a couple more locking pins that I was printing for one of the other fingers. So far the hand has about 39 different 3D printed parts, not including all the test pieces that were printed. So it actually turned out to be a fairly complicated build. I'm just happy it's all working now.